joins, okay? Now, I'm going to go through this quickly, but you should run this and rerun this and let this sink in, okay? What these, how these joins work, okay? I'm going to click here on the join logic, and I'm going to talk through what this table right here is telling you, but we're going to look at it down here, okay? So you see here, cross join, inner join, left join, right join, full join. And we see below that two tables, okay? An English table of numbers and a French table of numbers here, okay? So in English, we've got 1 through 6, and in French, we've got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so those are the two tables we're going to use as an example of joins. Now, joins, the relational model is based on set theory. Okay, and so then the relational operators, these joins, are then operating on sets. And so we will see some Venn diagrams show up here. Hopefully you're familiar with that concept, and we will graphically see what's going on in these joins, right, based on the set operations and what it looks like in the Venn diagrams. Okay, so we're going to start with an inner join, and that's our bread and butter, okay, the inner join. So I'm going to click on inner join here, and you should go to this page, you should click on this, you should look at this and really understand what's going on here. You don't have to understand all of the set notation, but let's take a look at what we've just done. 90% of our joins will be inner joins. Okay, that's kind of the natural join here. Okay, and then inner join is the intersection of two tables. Okay, and a table is a set of data. So the first table is represented by A, second table represented by B in our Venn diagram here. And the inner join is the intersection of those two sets. All right, so what do we mean by that? So if we look here, we're joining on the numbers, just like we join on ID columns, right? We join on, and our foreign key in one table is the primary key of another table, right? Which lets us link then those two tables together. And that's what we're doing here, okay? So we've got in our English table, we've got 1, and in our French table, we've got 1. That's a match in the intersection of the two tables, right? And that's a match, and so that column, or that row, comes over then to the result table. And here we've got English 1, and the English text, French 1, and the French text, okay? So this is the result table here on the right. And this is the intermediate table that Oracle builds internally when it does a join. And so the columns are additive. All of the columns from the first table are in the join, and all of the columns from the second table are in the join. And then only those rows that match, where there's an intersection between the two tables, are in the result table, okay? So here we've got, in the English table, we've got a 2, and in the French table, there is no 2, does not intersect. And so over here, 2 does not show up in the result table over here, okay? 3 in the English table And yes, there's a 3 in the French table. And so 3 then shows up in the result table, in the inner join table, right? And it is row 2 in the result table. And this is ID, just numbering the rows here, right? And so here's 3 in the result table. Okay, it's simple, right? This really is simple. 4, there's 4 in the English table, there's 4 in the French table, therefore 4 shows up in the result table. There's 5 in the English table, 5 in the French table, and 5 shows up in the result table. 6 in the English table, 6 in the French table, and 6 then shows up in the result table. That's the end of the English table. Over in the French table, we have a 7, but there's no 7 in the English table, so 7 does not show up in the result table. And then there's 8, and no 8 in the English table, so 8 does not show up in the result table. Okay, it's not in the intersection. So where those that have a match in both tables then show up in the result table. Okay. Now, I'm going to quickly do left join, right join, and full join, and then I'll hit on the cross join. But the inner join is the main join that you need to understand and draw it out. Okay. When you're writing SQL code, if you're just trying to write SQL code and visualize this in your head, I mean, SQL code can be very complicated, and we start joining 2 and 3 tables. And so create a diagram, right? Draw it out. Your 1 table, 2 table, second table, first table, second table, right? Where are there matching rows, and that will help you see where you what your result table looks like, and then you can write your SQL, right? Once you can visualize this, then you write your SQL statement. Okay. All right. Left join. So what the left join does is it takes everything in the intersection plus everything else in the first table. Okay. So we have now the result set here. We see that 2 has now been added to the results set because 2 is in the English table, 2 is not in the French table, but we're doing a left join, so we get everything in the intersection that we had before plus everything that's in the first table and not in the second table. And so we've got 2 and 2 here, and then we put null values, or Oracle puts null values in these columns in the result table because they don't exist in the French table, but we asked for this row, and so null values are placed in there. Okay, so you can imagine that the right join does the other side. Okay, so it takes everything in the intersection plus everything in the second table that's not in the first table. So we end up with everything that was in the first table in the intersection, and then we get 7 because 7's in the French table, and we get 8 because 8's in the French table. And over here in the columns for the English table, from the English table, we have null values because those don't exist in the English table. Okay, so that's our right join. Okay, then our full join takes everything, all the rows, right? All the rows from both tables. Sometimes we'll want to do that, even though we want to get everything from the left table and everything from the right table, and then null values will be put in where those don't exist in whichever side of the table. Now, You will see you may see on the exam this week or on the final exam a question that says, what join does this diagram represent? And when you look at the diagram, there's no diagram, okay? So it's a flaw in the test, in the exam. But look at the name of the diagram. You'll see the name of the diagram. It will say full.jpg. And so select full for the answer, okay, because it represents a full joint. So sorry, you can't see the diagram there, but it gives you the answer anyway, okay? So just a hint on that. That's a fault in the exam code. All right, now we're going to look at cross joins. Cross join is the Cartesian product. So if you've had some math and some set mathematics and you multiply sets, right, it's the Cartesian product. And what that means is, and I'll just click on it here and then explain it. Cross join, it multiplies. It multiplies the tables together. Okay, so the number of rows that you get, I need to scroll down in the Venn diagram and scroll that off so that you can see all of the rows here. Even at that, I don't know if I'm going to get all the rows on here. Well, I'm not, because we have 6 rows in the English table, and we have 7 rows in the French table, okay? And so then the cross join is 6 times 7, or 42 rows. So I'll scroll down to the bottom here, and here you see, yeah, we have 42 rows. It multiplies. And so what a cross join does is it takes one row in the English table and then attaches every row from the French table, okay? So we see 1 in French, we see, this goes from the French side, okay? So what we'll start with, we've got the French 1 here, and we've got then the English 1. Then we've got the French 1, the English 2, the French 1, the English 3, the French 1, the English 4, French 1, 5, French 1, 6, and then we go to the French number 3. And then we do the same thing with every row from the English table, okay? French number 3 with English 1, French number 3 with English 2, French number 3 with English 3, and all the way down. Then the French row 4 and every one of the English, okay? So you see the number of columns are still the same. It's still 4 columns, but the number of rows, it's now multiplied, okay? We have multiplied the rows, and we get 6 times 7, 42 rows, okay? We will see cross joins coming up in some future labs here. So come back and look at this. Again, this makes it simple, right? And understand what a cross join is doing here, and then go to the to the complex, the more complex, write the SQL code and actually work it. Okay. All right. So come into this area, play with these, click on these, see what they do. And again, the inner join, that is our basic one, and you need to make sure you understand that one really well. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to, let's go to the lab instruction and be back on the next video.